This Maglev test in China has just smashed a world record. It shot a 1-ton sledge to a speed of 700 km per hour in just 2 seconds. That's just under the cruising speed of a commercial aircraft. It's early days, but it could make China a world leader in ultra-fast ground transportation. It's so powerful, in fact, that the Chinese military might even use it to launch jets from aircraft carriers. And it comes just a few years since this floated off the production line. The CRRC 600, China's first domestically produced maglev train capable of operating at 600 km per hour, just shy of the current record holder, Japan's L0 series maglev. The race for the ultra-fast transport revolution is on. Or is it? Because we've been here before.
Well, a prototype of the Maglev.
Maglev system.
Maglev system.
The near future is on Maglev.
It's just as if there was a magnetic river flowing along there.
Have the wheels come off the maglev dream? The L0 series should have been flinging people between Tokyo and Nagoya since 2025. Instead, it spends its days going back and forth on this short test track in the Japanese Alps. And while there are ambitions for this to go into service in 5 years' time, for now it's just a prototype and hasn't even attempted a high-speed test. So it's time to ask a big question. Is maglev even possible? And if it is the wonder technology of the future, why does the future never arrive? This is the Shanghai maglev train. It's the longest and fastest of the 6 maglevs in commercial operation around the world. Still though, it's a bit underwhelming. It takes you from Shanghai Airport to here, the outskirts of Shanghai, where most people then jump onto the metro to continue their journey into the city. I say most people, but that's still not very many people, because the metro also goes to the airport, so most people actually just use that. For those who do choose the brief maglev journey, it's technically capable of reaching 431 km per hour, which is pretty fast. But a few years ago, it was capped at 300 km per hour, and the average speed is just 224 km per hour, which is slower than a high-speed train. Given there's such a gulf between this and what's in development elsewhere, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's an early prototype. But you'd be wrong. The first commercial maglev opened way back in 1984 at Britain's Birmingham Airport, shuttling passengers along at a bracing 42 km per hour. Over the next 2 decades, the technology was refined, and a German system known as Transrapid became the go-to design.
Welcome on board the Transrapid 08. Enjoy your flight at ground level.
It's built around a technology called electromagnetic suspension, or EMS, which uses the attractive power of magnets to achieve levitation. The train's undercarriage loops beneath a concrete guideway, both of which are installed with a set of opposing magnets which lift the train up when an electric current is passed through. The propulsion comes from a linear motor, with the train being pushed along by a second set of magnets laid down in the centre of a guideway. Because there's no contact between the train and the track, there are a couple of huge advantages. Firstly, there's no moving parts, so there's no wear, which massively reduces the maintenance needed on both the guideway and the vehicle. There's also no friction, meaning trains could, in theory, reach speeds unimaginable even on existing high-speed trains, even if that wasn't so apparent from the start. Of course, first you've got to work out the most efficient track layout, but that's easy. All you've got to do is parameterize the alignment as a constrained 3D spine, minimize curvature and jerk under super elevation limits, solve the optimization across the terrain manifold, and integrate the resulting geometry back into a buildable coordinated system. Obviously. Okay, maybe obviously is a bit of a stretch, but the ability to break down complex subjects like this is one of the reasons I love Brilliant. Brilliant's got thousands of lessons that are great for anyone looking to excel at maths, coding, AI, and much more. Basically, all the subjects you like the idea of but found really boring in school because of how you were taught them. I'm really into geometry at the moment, and I've become acutely aware of how much depth there is to the subject. As well as learning all this abstract knowledge, it's great for giving you examples of how it can be put into practice. Take the course in real-world algebra. It teaches you about controlling costs, calculating discounts, and comparing offers. And whether you're 10 or 110, we all benefit from pushing ourselves and learning more about how the world around us works. Guys, Brilliant's courses are designed to be fun and engaging, which is just what you need when some of these subjects can feel pretty daunting at first. Don't just take my word for it. You can try Brilliant for free for 30 days by scanning the QR code on screen or heading to brilliant.org/the B1M. They've also given our viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything Brilliant has to offer. Not only will your brain thank you, but you'll also be doing us a favour here at the B1M by taking the time to go and check out one of our video sponsors. Now, let's get back to floating trains. Despite its promise, the Shanghai Maglev train failed to make much of an impression, despite how hard it tried.
Shanghai is also setting new standards in the field of transportation, for it has something the rest of the world does not have yet: the Transrapid Superspeed Maglev system.
Ridership levels flatlined from the start. It was expensive and just didn't go anywhere useful. Now, if you're a train nerd like me, then you're probably feeling a bit let down by that. This is a long way from that revolutionary idea that we were all promised. So, what went wrong?
If you want to build a maglev, always take a step back and ask, what is the problem you're actually trying to solve?
This is John Shaw. He's an expert in where people go and how they get there. Because maglev, or any rail system, requires so much infrastructure built up front, any new line needs to be considered as part of a broader transport strategy.
If you're looking to make a strategic decision to link two big places together more quickly, then the reason you're doing that is to try and make them function as a single economic space. And that means that you unlock all sorts of investment opportunities. It makes it easier for people to move around the labor market. It makes it easier for people to connect with each other. And what you do is, instead of having 1 + 1 = 2 for your economic space, you're now getting 1 + 1 = 3 = 4 = 5.
We didn't know we needed a faster horse until someone gave us a faster horse.
Despite its limited success, in the years after the opening of the Shanghai Maglev in 2003, interest in long-distance transrapid systems took off around the world. Berlin to Hamburg, Shanghai to Hangzhou, Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, London to Glasgow. These were all serious suggestions that looked like they would herald the arrival of the long-awaited Maglev revolution. But then, they didn't. So what happened? Hidden among the benefits of Maglev were a number of fundamental problems. EMS, the system Transrapid relies on to float, provides very little in terms of levitation. The Shanghai Maglev floats between 8 and 12 millimeters above the guideway. Maintaining such fine tolerances over long distances poses a massive construction challenge that inevitably leads to other issues. Also, the attractive force that the EMS is built around is inherently unstable. As a train travels along the guideway, the gap between the sets of magnets is constantly disrupted. That could be caused by all sorts of things, from small deviations in the track to fluctuations in the electromagnetic fields, or even a strong wind. If the distance increases, the magnetic force quickly weakens, levitation fails, and the train drops. Likewise, if the distance decreases, the magnetic force becomes increasingly powerful and the train is pulled onto the guideway. In other words, there's no force trying to maintain an equilibrium. At best, this causes a bumpy ride for passengers. At worst, it could undermine the structure and the safety of the whole system. To counter this, Transrapid trains are equipped with an active control system. This measures the distance between the guideway and the train thousands of times a second, and makes constant adjustments in the strength of the magnetic force to try and maintain a consistent distance. But that's easier said than done, and the faster the train goes, the worse the problem gets.
So far, it's not as steady as the last bullet train I was on.
As anyone who's travelled on the Shanghai Maglev will tell you, it's anything but a smooth ride. It's partly because the experience was so bumpy that in 2021 the speed was limited to 300 km per hour. Work is now being done to fix the issue. A 2006 paper published in the Journal of Railway Science and Technology provided an overview of the progress scientists have made in addressing the excessive vibration. But there's a long way to go. That leaves a big question mark over China's CRRC 600. It uses a homemade variation of the Transrapid system, but how it can cope with the issue of excessive vibration is still unknown. Since its unveiling, it's only had access to a 1.5-kilometre test track at the University of Tongji, so it hasn't been tested at sustained high speeds. But there's an even more fundamental problem that Maglev faces, which is not one shared by its rival, high-speed rail.
An advantage of high-speed rail is it's proven technology. It's really good. It moves a lot of people really, really quickly. And once you get to where the high-speed rail runs out, then the train can just go back onto a classic railway line and you can extend the journey. So you've got that kind of compatibility with the existing network.
In the 2010s, just as Maglev proposals began to make headway, high-speed rail offered a trade-off. Lower speed but greater integration. Maglev just couldn't compete. Between 2010 and 2024, over 50,000 kilometres of high-speed rail lines were built around the world. Meanwhile, the only Maglevs constructed were airport shuttles or short metro lines.
As cool as Maglev was, when it was put next to a proven technology, high-speed rail won out every time. This futuristic, exciting mode of transport met its end in a suburb just outside Shanghai. Or did it?
Japan apparently didn't get the memo. While elsewhere Maglev projects fell by the wayside, the Central Japan Railway Company was hard at work on this, the Chuo Shinkansen. Work began in 2014, and it's currently the only long-distance Maglev line under construction anywhere on this planet. When complete, it'll connect Tokyo with Nagoya and Osaka, making the entire 438-kilometre trip in just 67 minutes. That same journey on the legendary bullet train takes 2.5 hours. So what's going on? Well, Japan sidestepped the biggest issues that Transrapid poses by developing a completely different system, SC Maglev. Now, where EMS uses the attractive power of magnets to provide lift, the SC Maglev uses the opposite repelling force to hover much higher above the guideway and with no undercarriage looping underneath. The guideway is lined with vertically aligned magnetic coils. As the train passes over, these interact with magnets on the train in the opposite configuration, producing lift. Unlike EMS, which is inherently unstable, this system passively keeps the train centered. If a carriage moves too close to one side of the guideway, the increasing magnetic force pushes it back to a point where the magnet on the other side creates balance. Either side of the carriage is a set of 4 magnetic coils. Using a liquid helium cooling system, these are chilled to minus 269 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, the magnetic field can flow without resistance, further increasing the efficiency of the system. But beyond all the technical stuff, there are other reasons why Japan is forging ahead with Maglev.
Japan's a really interesting case because they've got obviously a very, very, very mature high-speed railway network already. And they've come to the policy position whereby between Tokyo and Osaka, for example, their high-speed lines are full. We could build another high-speed line, but we don't actually get any benefit from that other than the congestion relief in terms of speed. So if they've got the technology ready to be able to deploy between Tokyo and Osaka to A, relieve the congestion on the high-speed line, which then becomes the classic line, and B, to do it to make sure that that journey is much more quick between the two places, they can enhance connectivity even more between those two places and get the economic benefits therefrom. And also they can develop their technology base, and then that becomes ready to export to other people if other countries want to buy it, etc.
But for it to achieve that economic payoff, or to make sense as an export product, the numbers have to add up, and that's far from guaranteed. One of the advantages of Maglev is that the decreased need for maintenance reduces the overall operating bill. But the energy these systems take to run is colossal. The SC Maglev takes 4 times the energy to run at just twice the speed of a normal train. Maglevs also need more specialist infrastructure than just their unique guideways. One side effect of the incredible speed of Maglevs is a phenomenon known as tunnel boom. When a train enters a tunnel, it forces air through the tunnel like a piston. At high speeds, it comes out the other end in a shockwave. Chinese engineers have developed a system to mitigate this. A 100-metre porous sound-absorbing buffer diffuses the shockwave, similar to a silencer on a pistol. Now, neither of these are insurmountable hurdles, but they do raise the price of a system that won't have as much capacity as a high-speed train. The L0 series Maglev carriages are significantly smaller than their bullet train equivalents, carrying 42 fewer people per car. They also won't be able to run as frequently. The switches that allow Maglev trains to change track are much slower than rail trains, meaning the trains must run at least every 10 minutes as opposed to every 3 minutes for the bullet train. In other words, the cost of construction and operation continue to go up as the return gets squeezed. The technology behind the SC Maglev has been decades in the making. Testing on the vehicle began long before the Chuo Shinkansen route was announced. Construction on the line is massively behind schedule. Passengers won't be travelling until 2035 at the earliest. That's a decade after it was first announced. A big reason for that delay, though, isn't the tech, but the extensive tunnels that have to be constructed.
We tend to think about transport in purely technical terms. It's a bit like driverless cars, where the biggest question to their widespread use seems to be whether or not AI can cope with everything that can happen on a road. In that sense, ultra-fast Maglev is possible. It can be done. The question is less about the technical feat and whether or not we can deploy that technology at any meaningful scale.
Over the past 20 years, China has transformed its geography with high-speed rail, and its ability to build should never be underestimated.
But while the progress it's been making in Maglev is impressive, there's still a very long way to go before that can see Maglev being rolled out at scale. For now, Japan's SC Maglev kind of looks like it could become the world's first commercially operating Maglev line. The big question is whether that then becomes the engine of an economy or just another piece of showpiece tech. This video was sponsored by Brilliant. Don't forget that you can get free access for a full 30 days by scanning the QR code on screen or by heading to the link in the description. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to generally levitate your knowledge about all this stuff, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.